So you're starting a new season of Pokemon Draft League, and you're thinking you want to draft a weather team. But you're wondering, how do I draft a weather team? Well, I asked myself that same exact question, and in this video, I'm going to try to answer it. Hi, I'm Radioactive Mayo. I've been playing Draft League for almost 9 years now, since Generation 7. While I don't think I'm the best Draft League player in the world, I do think I'm qualified to talk about a little Draft League theory and try to share what I've learned over the years. A couple disclaimers before I get started. This video is focused on singles format, not doubles, not VGC, and I'm specifically going to be talking about Nat decks. I don't know about any restricted move pools. Just in terms of the theory, I'm just going to be assuming all Pokemon know all their moves. This video is going to be my opinion, so let me know if you agree or disagree down below in the comments. So I'm going to start off this video just with some background information about draft leagues and about weather in Pokemon, and then I'm going to present my hypothesis. What is the best way to draft a weather team? I'll talk about my methodology for how I tried to answer this question, and then we're going to dive into the results and discussion for each weather one by one: snow, sand, rain, and sun. And at the end, I'll wrap it up with some conclusions. When we're thinking about what we need in order to be successful and win a Pokemon Draft League, there's really three things, okay? There's drafting, which is done one time at the beginning of the season. That's actually choosing the Pokemon on your team, making sure that they synergize together. There's the team building aspect, which you do week to week to prepare for each game, the prep before each battle. And then there's actually the battling itself, the in-game decision making, how good of a battler you are in-game. In order to be successful and win the championship of your Pokemon Draft League, you really need to be successful at some combination of all three of these things, okay? For the purposes of this video, I'm only going to be talking about drafting, okay? We're not, you could draft the best possible team in the world, but if you don't team build well and you don't prep well and battle well each week, you won't have success. Vice versa, you could draft not a great team, but if you team build really well and you play really well, you could have success. So take everything I say with that grain of salt, but this video is specifically going to be talking about choosing the Pokemon for your team during the draft. And when we say drafting weather, really, that just means we're drafting a Pokemon with an automatic weather setting ability. You've got drought, drizzle, snow warning, sandstream. These are the Pokemon that we're talking about. Drafting a weather team really just means fitting one of these Pokemon onto your draft, okay? And before I get any further in this video, let me just say, do not draft more than one weather setter on your team, please. Don't do it. If you're gonna draft a weather setter, just commit to that weather, okay? Do not try to mix and match. It's not worth it. Don't do it. Now, I want to make one more disclaimer. At the time of recording this video, we are staring down the release of Pokemon Champions. There are a lot of new Megas that are coming out. Megas are not good weather setters for your team, okay? Now, granted, these are very good Pokemon, okay? But they cannot hold the items that boost the duration of weather turns. They can only set up weather for 5 turns, not 8 turns. And when these Pokemon come in, they want to do their thing, right? When Mega Charizard Y comes in and sets up Sun, it wants to be clicking Fire Blast, it wants to be clicking Solar Beam. It doesn't want to have to waste a turn switching out into a Chlorophyll Mon. By the time you do that, you're not going to have enough turns of Sun left to really abuse it, alright? Same thing goes for Mega Frostlass. You can set up Aurora Veil, but only for 5 turns, not 8 turns. You can't hold the Light Clay, so you could set it up, but you're not going to really get as many opportunities to switch into something and start setting up behind that Aurora Veil. These Pokemon are very good on their own. If you draft them, do not think to yourself that you have a weather team and draft a bunch of weather abusers, because you're not going to get as much opportunities to really abuse the weather as you think. And we'll get more into that in a little bit. When planning your weather team, you'll realize pretty quickly that every weather is different, okay? Each weather sets up different effects onto the field that can enable different abilities, enable different moves, boost different stats for different Pokemon. And so each weather enables different strategies entirely. And so when we plan our weather team, the way that we plan our weather team depends on which weather we're talking about. So as I get into this video, I'm going to focus hyper-specific on each weather later on as we get into the analysis. But I drafted a hypothesis that I believe holds true for all weathers. The best weather teams in draft are good even when the weather setter is not brought to the match. Essentially what this means is you don't want to be overly reliant on the weather for the team to function. So, you've got your Pelipper or your Torkoal on your team, and maybe you've got a couple different weather abusers, some Swift Swim or Chlorophyll Mons that can take advantage of the weather, but you also have other Pokemon on your team that are just there to kind of round out the rest of the team. In any given matchup, you might not want to bring that Pelipper or that Torkoal and leave it on the bench and go no weather. You still want the rest of your team to function well together, to be threatening, to have win conditions, and not overly rely on the weather. You want to have a well-rounded core alongside the weather setter, okay? Not really integrate the weather setter too deeply into that core. Alright, this is almost the opposite of weather teams that you see like on the ladder. Okay, if you go on Pokemon Showdown ladder and you run into a weather teams are usually all in on the weather. They catch you by surprise. If you see a sun team, it's loaded with Photosynthesis, Chlorophyll, Fire Mons. If you see a rain team, it's loaded with Swift Swim, water type attackers. Maybe there's a Ferrothorn or a Scizor, and it's just all in on that strategy. But the thing is, in Draft League, you have prep time before each game. Your opponent knows the weather is coming, and they can prepare for it. So if your opponent knows that you have your weather setter on your team, they know that it can come, they can do certain things to prepare for the weather. So you want to have the option. You want to make sure you build your team well-rounded enough so that you don't always have to bring the weather. So I wanted to test this hypothesis, and the way I did it is I actually drafted 4 different weather teams, one for each weather, and played a full season with each team to see how they performed. Now, for consistency, all drafts took place in the top skill division of the Pokemon World Circuit, the same league, and all of these teams were done during in the Gen 9 NatDex format during different times during Gen 9, as you can see here. Now, one thing to note, this is an important caveat, is in the PWC, there's a signature Pokemon rule. What that means is one low-tier signature Pokemon must come to every game. So what I did, and in order to help me test my hypothesis, to discourage me from picking high-tier weather abusers, I picked my signature Pokemon to be a low-tier weather abuser. Now, this Pokemon had to come to every single match, okay? We've got Arctozolt, we've got Houndstone, we've got Omastar, we've got Brute Bonnet. The goal was for the weather team to not be overly reliant on weather, because I had to fill out my high-tier picks with other Pokemon that didn't abuse weather, and I had my signature Pokemon there to be my weather abuser. Okay? Now, I'm not going to talk at length about each one of these teams. I will show how well each team performed and discuss what I learned about each one of these drafts. And then I will expand more into the theories and strategies for each individual weather in particular. If you do want to hear me talk at length about each one of these teams, there's a full draft analysis video of each of these 4 teams on my channel. You can watch them linked down below in the description. Let's start with Snow. So I drafted a Snow team with Alolan Ninetales as the Snow setter and my signature Arctozolt as my Terra Captain that I brought every single week. This team had Arctozolt, Slowking, Volcarona, Alolan Ninetales, Haxorus, Gligar, Lokix, Fortress, Grafaiai, Gourgeist, and Girder. This team actually did really well, and it was a lot of fun to use. It finished 4th place out of 14 teams, which was pretty good, at a 5-3 record, +8 differential, and made it to the quarterfinals, where we were finally eliminated in the quarterfinals. Pretty good result, and it was very fun to play. Arctozolt is so good. to the point where after this season, the devs actually removed Arctozolt from on the tier list so that it could no longer be a signature Pokemon. Arctozolt led the whole league in kills this season. Chilly Reception was so good at enabling Arctozolt, much better than Alolan Ninetales. Slowking would just Chilly Reception and immediately bring out Arctozolt for free, and it enabled it so well. It was such a huge threat. And the Aurora Veil was great for enabling Volcarona and Haxorus. We had a couple games where Volcarona was able to set up behind Veil. Haxorus did pretty well, and my defensive core really shined. The defensive core being Slowking, Gligar, and even Gourgeist down here, mixing in Fortress and Alolan Ninetales as needed. If I were to do anything differently, honestly, I wouldn't make any big changes. I think this team did very well. I would probably get faster forms of offense that aren't setup reliant. Volcarona was very threatening, but it's only at base 100 speed, and sure, it can Quiver Dance, but I would like something just immediately threatening, maybe just a hard hitter off the bat that was a little bit more faster and not so setup reliant. But overall, the team did really well. I was very happy with it. Let's talk about snow. Snow is the most unique weather out of all the other weathers, and snow is also by far the easiest weather to use. And honestly, snow is possibly the strongest weather in Gen 9. I don't think it's crazy to say that. It's certainly debatable, but I think you can make an argument to say that snow is the strongest weather. And the reason why it's so strong is because it's so easy to use. It's easy to use because there's no downside to setting snow. Okay, compared to the other three weathers, each of the other three weathers have some kind of condition that can hinder Pokemon on your side. Sand, you've got the chip damage, which you have to think about. It can certainly wear down your team. Rain and sun, it can weaken the water and fire type damage coming out of your team, so you got to think about that. Snow doesn't have anything like that. Snow exists purely to enable ice type Pokemon on the field. That's it. So you can really fit snow on any team, and all it's doing is helping some ice type Pokemon if there's ice type Pokemon on the field. That's it. Otherwise, it's not really doing anything. And when I talk about enabling ice type Pokemon, really the main reason why you want snow is to go for Aurora Veil. Aurora Veil is this broken move that only works in snow, and it halves all damage coming onto your team. It lasts for 5 turns or 8 turns if you're holding Light Clay. So usually when you bring in a Snow Warning Mon, instead of bringing the Icy Rock, you want the Light Clay to maximize your Aurora Veil turns, not necessarily your Snow turns. Alright? And there are other Pokemon that can get Snow Warning, but Alolan Ninetales is by far the best Aurora Veil setter because of its good speed tier at 109. And it also has a great secondary typing with Fairy. It's got other good supporting moves too as well. So it just works really well as an Aurora Veil setter. If you want to go against the Hypothesis, honestly, you can draft an offense team, and I think Alolan Ninetales might be the best way to do it. If you want to go against the Hypothesis, and not rely on a bulky core and just go offense, I think you can do that with Alolan Ninetales. You may want some pivots to switch back and forth into your setup sweepers that can abuse Aurora Veil, but I think that might be one of the few exceptions. Now, there are also plenty of other Snow Warning Mons in the lower tiers, and I think these are actually really good Pokemon to draft, because you get really good value for a low tier by drafting a low tier Snow Warning Mon, because you get a low tier Aurora Veil setter. The thing about Aurora Veil is it forces prep from the opponent. Your opponent sees a Snow Warning Mon like this, they know you have the option to set up Aurora Veil, and that can really swing the tides of a battle, especially if your opponent is not prepared for it and it's up for 8 turns. You can win a whole battle off of that. And these are some good Pokemon too, usually pretty low on the tier list. I think Abomasnow is underrated. Aurorus is great at the bottom of the tier list. Even Vanillux I think is undervalued a lot, and people should go for it more. And these Mons are very easy to use, right? Because you draft a low tier Mon for cheap points on the tier list, and you get Aurora Veil. That's awesome. Another good way to take advantage of snow is to have a Mon with Slush Rush. Slush Rush doubles your speed when the snow is active. This is pretty good, especially for low tier mons. All of the Slush Rush mons are low tier mons, so you can get some good value out of the low tiers just by drafting a Slush Rush mon, because these Pokemon can be very threatening offensively when they double their speed. Arctozolt is by far the best Slush Rush mon. It's not even a contest. It is a little bit higher up on the tier list for sure, but you've got Bolt Beak plus Icicle Crash, which is a very hard combination to switch into, and with the boosted speed, that Bolt Beak does a ton of damage. Okay, Setitan is also really good, and Setitan is great too because it functions well outside of snow. You can bring Setitan to the battle and not have to worry about whether or not you set up snow for it. It has a very threatening Belly Drum Ice Shard set that it can run as well, which can be really good, or it can just be like a decent tank that deals damage, so Setitan is very good. Arctovish is also a really good Slush Rush mon at more of the bottom of the tier list. I think it's very undervalued and people should go for it more. Fishious Rend does a lot of damage. It just doesn't hit the same profile that Arctozolt hits, but it does the comparable damage for sure. And Beartic and Alolan Sandslash are like at the bottom of the tier list. If you want to go for them, if you have a couple points left, sure. But here's the distinction I want to make for you, okay? I would not draft a Slush Rush mon and a Snow Warning mon, okay? If you get one of the Pokemon that set up Snow Warning and you get a Slush Rush Pokemon, you have two Ice-type Pokemon. You're heavily invested in the Ice-type, and Ice is just not a good defensive typing. You really don't want more than one Ice-type Pokemon on your team. And so if you have a Snow Warning mon already, you don't want to double up and get a Slush Rush mon. If you want to use a Slush Rush mon, there's this thing called Chilly Reception. Chilly Reception is by far the best way to enable Slush Rush mons. Just draft a Slowking, okay? Slowking is now a snow mon, okay? Slowking is the king of snow, alright? Chilly Reception is such a good move, okay? Because you get the Slowking is only 30 base speed, so you get the slow pivot into the Slush Rush mon. It's like two effects built into one, okay? So if you draft a Slowking on your team, just go for a Slush Rush mon. Don't go for a Slush Rush mon if you have a Pokemon like Alolan Ninetales or Abomasnow, because you don't want to load up on the Ice-type Pokemon. It's just not worth it, I'm telling you. Chilly Reception is so good, you don't even need to get a Slush Rush mon. You can just draft any Ice-type Pokemon. Like, you can get Slowking and get one of these high-tier Ice-type attackers with Kyurem or Baxcalibur, and just enable these top-tier threats even more. I mean, these are two top-tier Dragon Ice Pokemon, and you get Slowking on your team, and all of a sudden they're bulkier, okay? Baxcalibur can run Ice Body and heal itself, and you get a automatic slow pivot into them that boosts their defense. That is so good. Okay? Honestly, if you have Slowking on your team, you don't even need a Snow Warning mon. Okay? This is what I want you to understand. Slowking is a snow setter. Slowking doesn't have Snow Warning, but Slowking is a snow setter. Okay? Sure, it doesn't last for 8 turns. It only lasts for 5 turns because you can't hold the Icy Rock. But you can pivot into the Ice-type Pokemon immediately for those 5 turns, and that's why it's so good. Okay? Honestly, if you get Slowking on your team, you should just get any Ice-type Pokemon. Slowking is also great for enabling low-tier Ice-type Pokemon. You can get something like Articuno, Regice, Frostlass. These Pokemon can set up Aurora Veil. Okay, you Chilly Reception into them, you can just run Aurora Veil on them, and then you get Aurora Veil. Your opponent will not expect that, I promise you. And now these Pokemon have boosted defense. I mean, Regice with boosted defense off a slow pivot, that thing's going to deal damage and be hard to take down. Same thing with Articuno, it can keep itself healthy with Roost. Ice-Q has a nice little unique ability with Ice Face. It can take physical hits all day when you slow pivot into it with Chilly Reception. So the point I'm trying to make to you is Slowking is the king of snow. If you draft Slowking on your team, draft an Ice-type Pokemon. Any Ice-type Pokemon will do. Wrapping this up here, I hope you understand why Snow is so strong. I mean, you don't even need to draft a Snow Warning mon to have a Snow team, okay? Just draft Slowking. There's really 2 modes of Snow teams that I want you to take away with, okay? If you draft one of the Snow Warning mons and you have an Aurora Veil, just roll with that. do not load up on Ice-type Pokemon. Don't. Get Ninetales, get Abomasnow, heck, take a low-tier Vanillux, take a low-tier Aurorus. These Pokemon will help your team. You do not need to draft anything else that you think synergizes with Snow, okay? Because the truth is, everything synergizes with Aurora Veil, and that's all you need to know. Yes, these Pokemon can click Blizzard, that's great. Anything else on your team can click Weather Ball and Blizzard. Great, wonderful. Just draft a normal team. The other 10, 12 Pokemon on your team, just draft a normal team. The other ice mode I want you to think of is the Slowking Snow mode. The Slowking Snow mode is the other snow mode. If you draft a Slowking, you have a snow team, alright? Whether you like it or not. If you have Slowking on your team, you have a snow team. Draft an Ice-type Pokemon. If you have Slowking, draft any Ice-type Pokemon. You can get a Slush Rushmon and enable them so well with Chilly Reception. You can get a high-tier Ice-type Pokemon, you can get a mid-tier Ice-type Pokemon, you can get a low-tier Ice-type Pokemon, and Slowking will enable them so well, alright? That's all I have for you. Let's switch over and talk about Sand now, okay? This is my Sand team that I drafted with Sand Setter Gigalith, and my signature Pokemon was Houndstone with the Sand Rush ability. Houndstone also has a pretty good ability with Fluffy for when I didn't want to bring Gigalith with Sand. This team was Houndstone, Sneasler, Excadrill, Hydrapple, Togekiss, Suicune, Iron Jugulus, Gigalith, Indeedee, Electros, and Torracat. Overall, this team was pretty decent. We finished right in the middle of the pack, 8th place out of 16 teams, 4 wins and 4 losses. We just barely made it to the playoffs, but we lost in round 1. So, yeah, this team was decent. Sand was certainly not the highlight of this team, alright? I can tell you that much. If anything, the highlight of this team might have been the Psychic Terrain Indeedee plus Sneasler combination, which was pretty strong. But this team felt to me hardly like a Sand team. Houndstone, honestly, not a great Sand Rush Pokemon, didn't feel like it. I think most of the weeks I ended up bringing Fluffy Houndstone more than I brought Sand Rush Houndstone. I already had Excadrill, which was my main Sand Rushmon anyway, so it felt a little redundant to bring 2 Sand Rush Pokemon, so I opted to usually just bring a defensive Houndstone with Fluffy. The bulky core worked really well with Hydrapple, Suicune, and Togekiss to take hits for the whole team. Gigalith slotted into there as needed pretty nicely. Now, the distinction I want to make here is that this team did not look the way it did now at the beginning of the season. I was planning to draft Tyranitar on this team, but Tyranitar was sniped from me during the draft. I ended up drafting Mega Tyranitar for this team. This team had Mega Tyranitar as my Sand Setter for the first few weeks of the season. The problem was Mega Tyranitar was just not a good Sand Setter. I did not have enough Sand turns to enable Sand Rush Excadrill or Sand Rush Houndstone at all. I tried it a couple weeks, and Mega Tyranitar just did not set up Sand for long enough for the Sand Rush, Excadrill, or Houndstone to be effective at all. I ended up dropping Mega Tyranitar after a few weeks for Gigalith, and that definitely made the team a little bit better. The point that I want to make here, though, and the lesson that I learned is that when your Weather Setter gets sniped, it can derail your entire draft. So honestly, if I would do anything differently, after my Tyranitar got sniped, I probably would have just pivoted away from Sand entirely. I might have swapped my signature, made a free agency transaction. You know, maybe I keep Excadrill, maybe I don't. Excadrill's still pretty good without Sand, to be honest. But yeah, if you don't get the Weather Setter, the one that you want, don't be afraid to just change your team, your draft plan, and just draft something different. Don't go for the Weather team. You know, it wasn't worth it to try to make Mega Tyranitar work, because like I said earlier in the beginning of this video, Mega Pokemon are not good at setting up Weather for your team. They set up Weather mostly for themselves, and that's it. The turns do not last as long. Mega Tyranitar was not a good Weather Setter at all for this team. And honestly, if I were to do it again, and I even if I did have Sand, I probably wouldn't even go Houndstone as my signature, because having more than one Sand Rush user was just too much. Excadrill was already a good Sand Rushmon, And I could have gone with literally any other signature to round out this team than try to make multiple Sand Rush users work, because I just really ended up using Fluffy Houndstone the entire time, not even bringing Sand Rush. Let's talk about Sand. I think it's safe to say that Sand is the weakest weather, at least in Gen 9 so far, but it's certainly not bad. The problem with Sand is there's just not a lot of ways to take advantage of Sand. There's not a lot of ways to abuse Sand. We've got Sand Rush. Sand Rush is a pretty good ability, doubling speed in Sand. Aside from that, there's only like a couple other abilities that interact with Sand at all. Sand Force and Sand Veil. They're just kind of meh. I wouldn't put much stock into them at all. The main effect of Sand is the chip damage at the end of each turn. Sand deals 1/16 max HP chip damage at the end of each turn to all Pokemon on the field that aren't Rock, Ground, or Steel. And there is a lot of value in that, for sure. We just have to be mindful of how we build our team, keeping that in mind, okay? But let's talk about abusing Sand. Sand Rush is the main way to abuse Sand, okay? And if we're being honest, Tyranitar and Excadrill is the bread and butter. It's been like this since Generation 5 for over a decade now, and it has not changed. And that's one of the main problems with why Sand feels so weak in Gen 9, is it just hasn't improved much. We still just rock with Tyranitar Excadrill, and this is great. Excadrill is the main Sand Rush abuser because it's strong, it's got a decent speed tier, and yeah, it's got good coverage. You know, it can run Earthquake, Stone Edge, and then you've got Iron Head. It's also a Rapid Spinner. It's just great. There are certainly other good Sand Rush mons. Let's talk about all the Sand Rush mons. Excadrill is the gold star, but you also have Dracovish and Dracozolt. Now, Dracovish is a good Pokemon on its own with Strong Jaw and Vicious Rend, and if it's even legal, in some leagues it's banned, right? But it's definitely a good Sand Rush mon, and so is Dracozolt. These mons, though, are usually decently high on the tier list, so if you are going to go for these mons, you are investing a lot of points into weather, which kind of goes against with what my hypothesis believes. There are other usable low-tier Sand Rush mons, like Houndstone, Stoutland, and Sandslash, and I think these can be decent out of the low tier. If you have a Sand Setter on your team, you could go for them. I think that's valid for sure. Aside from thinking about a Sand Rush mon, the main thing that we need to think about when drafting Sand is that chip damage. Alright? There is so much value in damaging 1/16 max HP at the end of each turn. Hippowdon here is a great Pokemon. Alright? You know how great it is to have a strong physical wall that can take literally any physical attack? It can deal Rocky Helmet damage, it can set up Stealth Rock, it can deal Stealth Rock damage, plus it sets up Sand, it deals 1/16 damage at the end of each turn. That kind of chip damage will wear down an offense team so fast, and all Hippowdon has to do is click Slack off and heal itself up and just keep taking hits. It's so good, and it just gets the opposing Pokemon in range of attacks where you can pick them off yourself. So when we think about drafting a Sand team with this chip damage in mind, we got to understand that we're going to want to wear the opponents down, but we have to keep our team healthy, okay? Because the chip damage is also going to come to our team. The key here is you want to draft Pokemon that are just really bulky, that aren't going to mind the chip damage, alright? Maybe this means a Regenerator Core. Maybe this means a Pokemon with Magic Guard or Overcoat, or honestly this just means a Pokemon that's just really, really bulky that can kind of just shrug off the sand damage. The main thing, I think, is the ability to self-heal. I think with a Sand team, you should draft a couple Pokemon that are really bulky that can heal themselves with a Recover or a Roost that can just shrug off the chip damage themselves, because the key is when you have a Tyranitar or Hippowdon on your team, you want that chip damage to work for you. You don't want it to work against you. Alright? And when you draft your offensive Pokemon should just be frail attackers that don't mind the chip damage, right? Draft some offensive Pokemon on your Sand team, maybe like a Sneasler, okay? That take the chip damage, but they're not really there to live attacks. They're just there to outspeed and get kills. So they don't mind the chip damage. You know what I mean? They're not there to live attacks. So the chip damage doesn't bother them. Your Pokemon on your sand team should be unbothered by the chip damage as much as possible. And that's really the thing, is like these Pokemon, these sand setters are good without any Sand Rush abusers. You don't have to draft a Sand Rush abuser to have the sand team. Technically, you have a sand team with any of these Pokemon. You just want to try to make the chip damage work for you, not against you. You want to make sure the rest of your team can adequately handle that chip damage over the course of a battle so that your opponents are getting chipped down and you're putting them in range of your fast offensive attackers that, once again, don't mind that chip damage. To wrap things up with sand, I just want to say you don't need any sand abuser at all, but if you do want to get a sand abuser, just get a Sand Rush Pokemon, but make sure you find the right pair of Sand Stream plus Sand Rush Pokemon. Alright, and I made a little table here to just kind of make sense of that, and it just has to do with typing, I think, in my opinion. You don't want to double up on ground type, and you don't want to double up on rock type. Alright, so your Excadrill and your Sandslash probably don't want to go with Hippowdon. They probably just want to go with either Tyranitar or Gigalith. And while I'm not big fans of Dracozolt or Dracovish for sand abuse, if you do want to go that route, you probably want to make sure your sand setter is a high tier sand setter that comes to a lot of games and can withstand a battle like Hippowdon or Tyranitar. I wouldn't draft Dracozolt with something like Gigalith, who isn't going to want to come to every game if we're being honest. Houndstone and Stoutland can honestly fit with any of these guys as low-tier Sand Rush mons. I think they're just decent low-tier value for Sand Rush. Houndstone is also great with Fluffy as an ability, and Stoutland, I guess, is decent with Intimidate too, if you want to try that. So those are just decent to low tiers. If you do get one of these Sand Rush mons, you can fit those on there. And Sandaconda, you just try to make Sandaconda work on its own. I don't know. If anything, I honestly think Sandaconda is a bit underexplored and more people should try to use it. It does have Sand Spit, not Sand Stream, which is a bit unique. But overall, Sand just doesn't have a lot going for it. It's kind of weak, and if anything, maybe in Generation 10 or Pokemon Champions, I'd like to see some Sand buffs. It'd be cool if they made a move like Chilly Reception, but it set up Sand instead. I think that'd be really strong, because Chilly Reception is already really strong. You could go for that and really take advantage of Excadrill. This would be a huge buff to Dracozolt and Dracovish as well. Maybe they don't need them, I don't know, but I think that would be a really strong buff to Sand. I'd also like to see Sand enable more moves. I mean, every other weather has at least some interaction where it boosts the accuracy or charge time of some move, except for Sand. Sand doesn't boost any kind of moves at all. Maybe, I wish Sand would make Stone Edge 100% accurate, or maybe Meteor Beam have no charge time. That might be too strong, I don't know, but yeah, I just want to see Sand get buffed in the future, hopefully. That's all. It's time to talk about Rain. My Rain team had Rain Setter Pelipper, and my signature Pokemon was Omastar as the signature Terra Captain. Omastar had the Swift Swim to take advantage of the rain, but it was also a decent threat with Shell Smash outside of Rain. The team consisted of Omastar, Mega Scizor, Zapdos, Latias, Pelipper, Clodsire, Mienshao, Lokix, Galarian Corsola, Shiinotic, and Gumshoos. And overall, I mean, this team was pretty decent. I honestly had a lot of fun with this team. I mean, we finished 10th out of 16. We finished 4-4. We did just barely scrape into playoffs, but we lost round 1. Basically the same exact thing that happened with the Sand team. Scraped into playoffs, but lost round 1. But yeah, this team was a ton of fun. Omastar was actually a great signature Terra Captain, because it was very threatening with either Swift Swim if I wanted to bring Pelipper, or if I could just easily leave Pelipper on the bench and Omastar was still very threatening with Shell Smash. And so that really, I think, embodied my hypothesis pretty well. The bulky core performed very well. Mega Scizor, Zapdos, Latias, Clodsire, and Corsola as well. I had plenty of defensive options for this team. There was really no problem there. If anything, I felt like some of the higher tiers were lacking substantial offense. I really wanted to make sure the bulky core was so well-rounded, but it might have been too well-rounded. If I were to go and do anything differently, I'd probably replace a high tier like Latias or Mega Scizor and just get something more offensive. And to be honest, I might use a better grass type. Shiinotic, I did have a couple cool Shiinotic moments, but I'd get a nice grass type because grass types are pretty good on Rain. For generations prior to Gen 9, Rain was undoubtedly the strongest weather, okay? And it's still very strong, for sure. So unlike what we talked about before with snow and sand, the synergies with rain and sun are just a bit more complex. There are a lot more effects that rain sets onto the field than snow and sand. Offensively, you have powered up water type attacks. Swift Swim is a great ability to spam water type attacks with doubled speed. It enables moves like Hurricane and Thunder to be more accurate. And then defensively as well, it enables Pokemon that are weak to fire because it essentially removes their fire weakness. It halves all fire type damage when Rain is active. It also enables some niche abilities that interact with Rain like Hydration, Dry Skin, and Rain Dish, which we can talk about a little bit as well. But first, before we dive into any of that, there's two main rain setters here. We have Pelipper and we have Politoed. And they're both pretty good. There's pros and cons to each one though, I think, so it really depends which one you want to draft. Politoed over here is cheaper on the tier list. It has a better defensive profile though. It's a pure water type, not a water flying type like Pelipper. So Politoed actually has less weaknesses than Pelipper does. And if you don't want to bring Rain one week, if you don't want to bring Drizzle, you can actually bring Water Absorb Politoed too, and that can be pretty decent. It can be actually good in the right matchups if your opponent has a good water type that you don't want to boost, rather you want to run Water Absorb, you can do that as well. Some of the cons to Politoed though is there's limited defensive utility. It doesn't get a ton of great supporting moves. It's not super versatile in what kind of support it can provide for the team aside from Rain, and it has no reliable recovery outside of Rest. Now, Pelipper, on the other hand, actually has a really good defensive utility. It has Defog, it can control hazards with Defog, it can knock off, which is just a great utility move. It can keep itself healthy with Roost as well, and one of the biggest things is it can pivot with U-turn, and that's great because you can just pivot into whatever Pokemon you want to start taking advantage of the rain, and that's fantastic. And it can also spam Hurricane, which is its stab move. It's a water flying type. Right, so that also helps it offensively as well. The con to Pelipper is, of course, you got to invest more points on the tier list. You got to invest more into your team if you want Pelipper as your rain setter. And the biggest con for sure, though, is it is 4 times weak to Electric. And that 4 times weakness in Draft League does make it a lot easier to prep for. You can run a fighting type with Thunder Punch. You can run any special attacker with Thunderbolt. Thunderbolt is a pretty common coverage move nowadays, so if you have Pelipper on your team, chances are your opponent is going to run stuff with the electric type move to try to eliminate Pelipper as soon as possible, so you have to be mindful of that. But really, depending on who you choose, it all depends on who you draft to abuse the rain, right? So depending on what other Pokemon you have on your team to take advantage of the rain should dictate which rain setter that you get. Alright, now offensively, Swift Swim is the best way to abuse rain, by and large. Because the thing with Swift Swim is it also takes advantage of the boosted water type attacks that rain provides. So rain boosts water type attacks 1.5 times, right? And Swift Swim Mons are all water types, so they all get the stab water type boost anyway, and now their water type moves are boosted even more. So if you're investing in a rain setter like Pelipper or Politoed, I think it's worthwhile for sure to get a Swift Swim Mon. You do start to double up on typings pretty quickly with multiple water types. Luckily, water is a pretty good typing, so it's not a huge issue, and there's just a ton of Swift Swim Mons, more than even on the screen right now in the lower tiers if you really want to dig deep down there. But yeah, there's a ton of, and the thing about Swift Swim Mons too is there's a ton of low tier value here. Like, you can get a high tier Swift Swim Mon like Basculegion or Barraskewda. I personally don't think I would, because that goes against my hypothesis of, not investing too many high tier points into your Weather Abuser. And honestly, like, there's a ton of value down here. I mean, mons like Ludicolo, Kingdra, Kabutops, Seismitoad, even Overqwil, not even a water type, can just be a nice little Swift Swim Mon. So there's tons and tons of options to get a Swift Swim Mon, so don't be afraid to dig into the lower tiers, look around, and just find something that fits. Offensively too, like, there's other ways to take advantage of rain too. You can take advantage of rain by just having strong attackers that use Hurricane and Thunder. These Pokemon can be your high tiers, I think. Pokemon like Zapdos, Torn-T, Raikou. Notice these Pokemon don't rely on rain, and this is the key. This is the key difference between these Pokemon and the Swift Swim Mons that I just named. Like, a Pokemon like Kabutops kind of relies on rain, like, definitely wants rain up in order to be ultimately effective, but a Pokemon like Torn-T or Zapdos or Raikou, they don't need rain up to be at all. It helps. If you bring Pelipper to a match, you can run Hurricane, you can run Thunder, and not worry about missing. It certainly helps, but you don't have to have rain. These Pokemon are just good. So these are definitely good Pokemon to think about when you're building a rain team, because they also work. They're also just good when you don't bring the rain, right? And defensively too as well. You enable Pokemon that are weak to fire. So Pokemon like your Bugsteels, your Mega Scizor, your Scizor, your Escavalier even, that's a lower tier pick, right? Remove their 4 times weakness to fire. Now they're only 2 times weak to fire. This just helps them defensively. You can live a fire attack now, right? That's pretty good. Honestly, this goes for any bulky steel or grass Pokemon at all. They're all benefiting passively from rain because they're removing their fire weakness, right? And honestly, if you're building a rain team, you should be getting a bulky steel or a bulky grass Pokemon somewhere. It can be any bulky steel or bulky grass. There's so many good ones available. You should be taking advantage of that passive benefit for sure. Defensively, there's also other niche abilities that we can talk about. You have Hydration. Pokemon like Goodra and Manaphy are pretty good with rain. Goodra can just click rest in rain and just fully heal itself and wake up, which is fantastic. Same thing with Manaphy, it can tail glow up, and then when it gets low, it can just click rest. Really take advantage of those Pokemon's natural bulk. Dry Skin is a little bit niche, but Pokemon like Toxicroak can be very good low tier value on a rain team. You have the Water Immunity, which is nice on the rain team, because the thing about rain is it also boosts opposing water Pokemon as well, which you have to keep in mind. You've also got rain dish Pokemon like Tentacruel and Shiinotic, which are options you can consider. So to kind of conclude this here, when you're building a rain team, these are the questions that you want to ask yourself. How much do you want to rely on the rain? Are you giving yourself options to abuse the rain, or are you overly reliant on the rain? These 5 Pokemon are the 5 Pokemon that I had on my rain team that I used, and honestly, I might have been a little bit reliant on rain. I was just trying to get a little bit of everything of the advantages that I just named. I was trying to get like one of each. I got my Steel type with Mega Scizor, I got my Hurricane Spam with Zapdos, I got a Rain Dish, Shiinotic, and I had my Swift Swim with Omastar, but I didn't need to go all in. Like, I didn't need to get all of them. If anything, I would recommend to just mix and match a few Weather Abusers. You don't need to check every box of ways to take advantage of rain, right? You can just get a couple and then kind of round out the rest of your team, like I said. So like, just get a couple things that synergize together. You can get a Swift Swim Mon, and you can get, you know, a bulky steel, and that's great, right? You can get a hydration Mon, cool. Get a high tier like Goodra, and then get a low tier Swift Swim, cool. Or get a high tier like Zapdos, and then you get a lower tier Swift Swim, cool. If you want to get a lower tier like Heliolisk and Ferrothorn, cool. You can do that too. Just mix and match. You don't need to go all in and try to get a little bit of everything, because then you're inching into that territory of, you know, being a little bit overly reliant on rain. That's what I felt like. It's easy to pair things that benefit on rain, right? But focus on the rest of your team. Like, really focus on the rest of your team. Like, pick a couple things that benefit from the rain, but really focus on rounding out the rest of that team and filling in all your typings and all your other roles, because you don't want to, you know, be overly reliant on that. That's really it. The last weather we have to talk about is Sun. Now, here's my Sun team. We had our Drought Setter with Torkoal and our signature Pokemon with signature Terra Captain Brute Bonnet. The team consisted of Brute Bonnet, Corviknight, Blood Moon Ursaluna, Raging Bolt, Galarian Zapdos, Torkoal, Hatterene, Silvally, Darmanitan, Venusaur, and Pyukumuku. Now here's where it gets interesting. This team was terrible. This team finished in last place, did not win a single game, okay? Which is totally different from the other three weather teams that I did. The other three weather teams all performed pretty decently, at least made playoffs, right? So yeah, there was no success at all with this team. And granted, this team had a lot of flaws, okay? For one thing, I think this team did not have enough speed. It was very slow. I tried to do a little bit of a Trick Room angle with Hatterene and Ursaluna. It was not successful. I think the team was passive at times, honestly. I wish it had more offense. There was just not enough immediate power to deal damage and really threaten constantly. And yeah, like I said, the Trick Room mode just did not work. Should have probably just avoided that. So the team had flaws, if we're being honest. I'm not going to deny that. Changes I would make, I would get a faster power Mon. I mean, I would get a high tier Mon like Walking Wake or Roaring Moon that not only had the speed, but could take advantage of the sun and deal damage. Raging Bolt was good. I do think Raging Bolt was quite good, but this team needed speed, and Corviknight and Ursaluna were not providing that speed, and really my only forms of speed were Zapdos and Darmanitan, which just wasn't enough. I needed something fast up here in the high tiers, and so I definitely should have, you know, maybe built the defensive core a little bit further down. You know, honestly, I would have probably leaned into the offense too. Like I said, get Walking Wake or Roaring Moon in the high tiers and load up on the Photosynthesis. And while I'm at it, get Screamtail over Hatterene. That's what I would do differently. Let's take a step back and talk about Sun. Sun has been a strong weather for generations now, but it has seen a resurgence in power since Generation 9, okay? So for effects, we've got, you know, it powers up fire-type attacks 1.5 times in the field. That's pretty good. Chlorophyll is a strong ability for doubling speed. It's also got a couple other abilities that interact with it. Solar Power increases damage. It's got niche abilities too, like Leaf Guard and Harvest. The main ability, though, that we need to focus on is Photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is what has put Sun over the top in Generation 9. You have all of these Pokemon introduced in Generation 9 with Photosynthesis, and this is what has made Sun so good. The thing is, all these Pokemon are so strong, 570 plus BST, and there's just there's diverse typing distributions between them. You know, you've got the dragons, right? You've got the Photosynthesis dragons, but you've got Pokemon like Screamtail, Pokemon like Great Tusk. These Pokemon can fill diverse roles. They're not just offensive setup sweepers, you know? You've got Pokemon like Brute Bonnet as well. You've got even lower tiers like Slitherwing and Sandy Shocks. There's just so many good options here, and this really is the focus of Sun now. Like, if you're drafting a Sun team, you have to get Photosynthesis Mons because they're so good. And Photosynthesis is such a strong ability, boosting the highest stat of whichever stat is the highest of any of these Pokemon is so good. Aside from choosing your photosynthesis mons, you have to choose your Sun Setter. And luckily you have two pretty good choices with Torkoal and Ninetales. They're both pretty decent, but they do different things aside from setting up Sun. Torkoal is the slower, bulkier version of the Sun Setter. It's got hazard control with Stealth Rock and Rapid Spin, good defense stats so you can easily switch it into defensive attacks and survive them pretty well. It's got some nice disruptive support with Yawn and Clear Smog, and it's got a pretty good amount of coverage moves too. It has good physical attack and special attack, so you can run physical attack and coverage moves and special attack and coverage moves pretty well, which is pretty nice on Torkoal. The main downside of it is it's just so slow. So you're always going last with Torkoal. Over here though with Ninetales is the faster Sun Setter, a bit more offensive Sun Setter as well. Ninetales fits more on offense teams, while Torkoal fits more on balance teams in terms of Sun. Ninetales is the offensive support. You've got offensive coverage moves like Encore, Healing Wish, Memento. You've got pretty decent speed at base 100. You can also pivot with Baton Pass, which is pretty nice with Ninetales at base 100 speed, so you can go for Baton Pass and maybe get a nice safe switch into something. It also can serve as an offensive threat too with Nasty Plot, so you have to think about that as well with Solar Beam and the Fire move as well. The problem with Ninetales though, it has very limited bulk. So unlike Torkoal, which can switch into physical attacks, Ninetales does not want to switch into attacks. It does have a decent special defense at I believe base 100, but aside from that, it really doesn't have much survivability. The thing with both of these Sun Setters though is neither of them have reliable recovery. That's the problem. Neither of them can keep themselves healthy. While Torkoal is very bulky and can live physical attacks, it can't live physical attacks forever because it can't heal unless you run rest. You can run rest for sure, but it can't heal otherwise. And same thing with Ninetales. Ninetales can't heal. If anything, you're going to use your offensive supporting moves, and eventually you might Healing Wish or you might Memento into one of your Sun Abusers and just go all in. The question is, how offensive do you want to go, right? If you can go all out offense, go Ninetales for sure. Ninetales is the answer for all out offense because you've got the speed and you've got the moves like the Healing Wish and the Memento, which really help optimize your Sun Abusers. But if you want to try to play the balance game a little bit more, go Torkoal. Go Torkoal. That's sort of what I tried to do, is build a more well-rounded core and fit Torkoal into it. And so you can have a little bit more survivability with Torkoal, and you still get a good amount of supporting moves and coverage that way. So photosynthesis is obviously your main ability that you want to focus on for abusing Sun, but there are a few other abilities that you have to choose from to abuse Sun, so let's talk about them. Chlorophyll is probably the best one behind photosynthesis. Now, Chlorophyll is not as good as Swift Swim, okay? So the thing with Swift Swim is it takes advantage of the water type boost that Rain provides, but Chlorophyll Pokemon are grass type Pokemon. They don't get stab fire type moves the way that Swift Swim Pokemon get stab water type moves. So while Swift Swim is the best way to abuse Rain, Chlorophyll is just not as strong. It's not the best way to abuse Sun. It's still pretty decent, and it's the best way behind photosynthesis. There's some good late game sweeping potential with some of these Chlorophyll mons. The one outlier is of course Scovillain, which can take advantage of the stab fire moves with this flamethrower, so I think for that it's a pretty decent low tier Chlorophyll mon. But the other two pretty good Chlorophyll mons worth noting are Venusaur and Hisuian Lilligant. You might have to invest a few more points into these, but they're definitely threatening Chlorophyll mons for sure. Venusaur can take advantage of the Weather Ball, while Hisuian Lilligant is pretty good. It's also decently threatening outside of Sun too, if you want to go that route. There are plenty of other Chlorophyll mons too that you can invest in lower tiers like Vileplume, Victreebel, stuff like that. Tons of Pokemon get Chlorophyll. Aside from Chlorophyll though, you have Solar Power. There are strong wall breakers that can take advantage of Sun. The problem is though, the chip damage hurts. the chip damage really hurts solar power mons, and they don't stick around. The thing is, photosynthesis Pokemon can wall break really well too now, so honestly, I would not invest in a solar power mon for your Sun team. I would just invest in some strong photosynthesis breakers, because photosynthesis Pokemon can wall break really well. They get the photosynthesis boost in their either attack or special attack, and they don't take chip damage at the end of every turn. It's just not that great. I'm sorry, Mega Houndoom. Harvest is a cool ability though. You can have pretty excellent survivability with some bulky grass types like Executor and Arboliva. It can help them really well over the course of a battle. And then you've got Leaf Guard too. Leaf Guard is cool. It can enable Pokemon more offensively like Zarude to set up with bulk up jungle healing, not have to worry about status like Burn. So those are just a few other options you can consider as well. Really, I just want to make note of these. You can invest in them if you want to get a grass type for your Sun team. I do think it's a pretty nice idea to have a grass type for your Sun team, but do not over-invest in these abilities more than photosynthesis. Make your main focus of building your Sun team, getting those photosynthesis mons and rounding them out, and you can find a grass type that also benefits from Sun passively with any of these abilities, no problem. And that's really what I want you to take away from this. Utilize the power and versatility across the multiple photosynthesis mons and invest in photosynthesis. Invest in high tier photosynthesis. Get something like a Roaring Moon, a Gouging Fire, a Walking Wake, a Raging Bolt for your Sun team. Do it. And then, you decide how offensive you want to make the team. Do you want to go offensive or a bit more defensive? You get Torkoal or Ninetales. And then you can find any grass-type Pokemon that can utilize one of these niche abilities to abuse Sun. You don't have to get a Chlorophyll Mon. Maybe you get a Leaf Guard Zarude, or maybe you get a Harvest Arboliva. You can find any grass-type, really, that benefits from Sun. There's so many of them out there. That's it. But now, how can I tie this all together? I need to ask myself, why did the Sun team perform so much drastically worse than all the other weather teams? I mean, just look at the results. The other three weather teams were pretty decent. They all made playoffs, but the Sun team was terrible. The Sun team was the worst team in the league. Why? You could chalk it up to a few things. You could say I made some mistakes in the draft. I got sniped a few times. I honestly wanted to get Great Tusk on this team, but we had to settle for Ursaluna Blood Moon because it got sniped. Okay, sure. The team had weaknesses. The team definitely had its problems. I made some mistakes in the draft for sure. The structure was not that good, alright? And honestly, if we take a step back and look at the methodology, we could critique the methodology of this study for sure. Only drafting one team per weather is not enough to really conclude anything definitively. I mean, the sample size is too small, right? If I repeated this dozens of times, let's say I drafted 10 weather teams for each weather, I drafted 40 teams, I'd probably have some really good Sun teams as well as some really bad Sun teams. I'd probably have some really bad Rain teams as well as some really good Rain teams. It might be a little bit more distributed, is what I'm trying to say. I only did one team per weather, so take that with a grain of salt. The other thing is the PWC signature rule is unique, and there's an argument to be made to say that it skews this in favor of the weather. Okay, maybe the PWC signature rule is making teams too reliant on the weather because my signature Pokemon has to come to every games, and it is abusing weather some way or another, right? Or at least has the ability to. So if I did this study again totally differently, and I did it in a league that didn't restrict my team building the way the PWC does, I might see different results. If I repeated the study and drafted high-tier weather abusers and low-tier defensive cores, I might see different results entirely, alright? But I don't know. But going back, I'm honestly thinking to myself, perhaps I should have leaned harder into Sun, right? When I was building all these teams, my thought process was, I don't want to lean too hard into the weather, I gotta build a well-rounded core, I gotta not be afraid to leave the weather setter on the bench. But the more I think about it, perhaps I should have leaned hard into Sun. Our hypothesis said, the best weather teams in draft are good even when the weather setter is not brought to the match. Well, Perhaps this applies to all weather except for Sun. Perhaps Sun is the outlier of all the weathers. Perhaps Sun teams should be all in on the Sun. Perhaps your Sun setter should be coming to almost every match. Why? Some teams can afford to go all in, mainly because photosynthesis is so strong, okay? And that's the thing. In all of this talking that I've done so far, Sun is the only weather where I recommend drafting a top tier weather abuser, okay? If you're gonna draft Sun, you should get one of the Pokemon that are really good that can abuse Sun. There's only a few top tier weather abusers. Like, the other weathers don't have top tier weather abusers, but Sun does, okay? Now don't get me wrong, you can draft any of these Pokemon and not have them on a Sun team, right? I mean, you can just bring booster energy to get the photosynthesis attack boost. But if you're gonna build a Sun team, just go all out. Just go all out and get them. Why not, right? I mean, like, that's the thing. If you're gonna build a Sun team, you go for round 1 Great Tusk, alright? You get that, and then round 2 you hope that one of the photosynthesis dragons falls to you. Alright? Get any one of the photosynthesis dragons that falls to you. And then if that's your round 1 and round 2, you're set for an awesome Sun team. You know, maybe you get one more photosynthesis mon late in the draft. Maybe you get a Screamtail for the support, or a Slitherwing. You know, you figure out if you want Ninetales or Torkoal. You get one of your grass types. And then you just kind of fill in the rest of the draft from there. But your team is really, really strong if you do that. And that's the thing. Sun is the only weather where I recommend taking that approach and drafting a top tier weather abusers. And it's mainly just because photosynthesis is just so good, and the mons that have photosynthesis are so strong. Rain teams, I don't think they should be all in on Rain, and I think they should be more well-rounded. Rain, on the other hand, does not have top tier weather abusers that are worth investing in that rely on Rain. That's the key word, is rely on Rain. I mean, Basculegion is a great Pokemon, but you don't have to draft it on a Rain team. It's very good with adaptability. It's just a good mon on its own, good water type wall breaker on its own. Zapdos, great mon on its own. Benefits from Rain, certainly does not rely on Rain. Same thing as Tornadus. Tornadus benefits from Rain, does not rely on Rain. You're better off just getting a couple mons that benefit from Rain and building the rest of your team to be more balanced. It's just so much easier that way, and you can have a lot of success still, and there's plenty of Pokemon that benefit from Rain, okay? Now, Snow and Sand are totally different from Rain and Sun. I'm almost dividing them in 2 different groups out of the 4. You only really want one mon to take advantage of the weather with Snow and Sand, and honestly, that's optional. You don't even need to. The rest of the team should be balanced and not about the weather at all. Alright? Sand teams, you just need to focus on building your Sand team to withstand the chip damage that the Sand provides. Alright? A Sand Rush user is optional if you want to have one. Just try to synergize your Sand Rush user with your Sand Setter and the rest of your team. Snow is, like, easy. It can literally fit on any team. You don't need to overthink it. You can draft a Snow Warning Mon with Aurora Veil on any team. You get good low tier value if you find one of the low tiers. Do not overthink it. And if you draft a Slowking, then go for Slush Rush if you want Slush Rush. You don't need to go Snow Warning and Slush Rush that way. Slowking is still the king of snow, in my opinion. And that's all I have for you guys. This video was my most ambitious project to date so far. It took a lot of time to make, and hopefully you took away with something out of it. I mean, please let me know what you think down below in the comments. I would love to hear from you. If you have any other ideas or thoughts on this matter, I would love to discuss more, and let me know what other kind of videos you like to see. I hope you guys enjoyed, and thank you for watching.